I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ is Lord.
Hello and welcome in to another episode of Offensively Accurate, hosted by yours truly, Atlas Thugged, aka just another foreigner in his own country. Today has just been one wild day of sorts, if you will. There's some stuff in the news, but not too much. It's literally just an extension of what we've been dealing with, which is crazy because that's kind of exactly where most news is at right now. You have Ben Shapiro just losing his mind on Megyn Kelly. We're going to cover a bit of this. I read a lot of the captioning around it. I've not seen it so far. I know what's going on, but we're going to react in real time to some of these clips here because Ben Shapiro basically had a struggle session with Megyn Kelly. And once again, Megyn Kelly finds herself in this position where she's kind of like the arbiter, right? She's the arbiter between the Tucker Carlson, Fuentes, Candace Owens types versus the pro-Israel crowd. And this is now multiple times Megyn Kelly's been put in this position, which is weird. Even previously, I forget what event it was in particular, but previously she was chastised for that too. They were talking about throwing out Megyn Kelly like she's just as bad as Tucker Carlson, all because, similar to what we're seeing right now, she's not coming out with a full-throated, denouncement or a disavowal of everything going on. And we're going to cover that, and we have a few good community submissions as well. I do appreciate everybody for being here. And if you didn't see the latest video, definitely check it out. It's a little bit of a different style. I'll probably try moving more towards that to get more of like my opinions out there instead of always copying and pasting a lot of other people's. Get into my own, if you will. But there is a bit of housekeeping, and this is actually something of a bit of a serious note, and I'll say it at the beginning, and I'll try to remember to say it at the end as well. One of my longtime friends in this space, many of you probably know him. He's been a moderator for this channel for a long time, and one of my, again, close friends in the space. He came from the previous, broadcast I was with before, and that is Donnybrook. And while I'm not going to give any details out about a situation and what's going on, it has been a lot of series of unfortunate events. And so I just ask whether you know him or not, if you could please keep him in your prayers. It's not been easy going for him. Keep him, his wife, his children in your prayers. It's not been fun for him as of late. But in terms of beyond the main featured stories, there's a guy by the name of James Fishback who is going to seemingly test the theory which I've been pushing out for the last, 2 weeks now, which is if any candidate was any person literally could come out of nowhere, and if they made it their mantle, their platform to say America first, Israel last, they would probably win in a landslide. And we may get that with James Fishback there in Florida, who's going pretty heavily against Byron Donalds, who is so far the front runner for the Republican Party to take over as the governorship from Ron DeSantis as well. And yes, thank you, Tix. Make sure you smash the like button if you have not already. I will assume that you hate me if you have not. But then again, everybody hates white men, so that would be nothing new. And then there's some other smaller things in here too. We have a fake hate crime that came out of New York City, which is just, it's laughable. We'll watch the video together. We have Miriam Adelson pledging basically 20 more additional dollars to continue to attack Thomas Massie on top of the $2 million that they've already put into attack ads against him. And also I'm vindicated on Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace is actually a false accuser of all of these charges. We'll look at that because a lawsuit was filed by her ex over false accusations. So a lot to get into. Let's get started. you guys might remember that I covered, I don't think this had been yesterday, the Omar Fateh, right, the Somalian who was running in Minneapolis. He lost to a white dude, which I can only assume he's white or European of some descent. And what's funny was, people, if you were just looking visually, you would think, hey, that was a win for us. The Somalian guy who shouldn't even be in Minneapolis in the first place, let alone running for mayor or whatever, he shouldn't have won. And he didn't win. The only issue is the person who was competing against him by the name of Jacob Frey, I believe is his name. He's very pro-Somalian. There's a clip that was circulating by, I believe, End Wokeness that showed him up on stage with a shirt that said, I love Somalia. And he's like screaming in Somalian. And what we find is this, and this is from RN. And again, I heavily recommend you guys following this and also following them in their Telegram. They do great work. And they write that a significant number of Somalians in Minneapolis didn't vote for ethnic Somali mayoral candidate Omar Fateh due to Fateh being part of the Darude, I don't even do, these are just ridiculous words, Darude clan rather than the Hawiye. These deep-seated clan wars allowed Mayor Jacob Frey to rally key community leaders from the Hawi clan to hold off a challenge from Fateh. Understand that Minneapolis's mayoral race was determined by third world clan tribalistic ties. This is how far we are from the America of old. This to me was just mind-blowing. It was already mind-blowing to see that the white dude won, but to see that the reasoning for it was because he was basically like doing faction wars inside the clan. He's like, you know what, like I'll pledge myself to the Hawi clan. I'll give you my firstborn daughter as long as you vote for me. It's like, what? What? You can't make this up. So I wanted to point some attention to that since we got some reasoning for why Somalia is dominating Minnesota. We might as well, at this point, we'll just sell it to Canada. Minnesota is just, Canada, you can have it. We'll pay you to take it. Just like, we just want less Somalians in our country, even if we have to give up landmass, just please take it. It's aggressive. And then another small thing, another harder segue is James Watson passed away at the age of 97. James Watson is the co-discoverer, I guess, of the DNA's double helix structure. He was a huge figure in the science community, or I guess the DNA community more specifically within inside of genetics. And it is sad because James Watson basically was denigrated, right? He was, what do they call that? Persona non grata. He was forced to sell his Nobel Peace Prize, or his Nobel Prize, I don't think it's a Peace Prize, but his Nobel Prize because basically the science community called him racist. And that was because he began to be a bit more vocal about the IQ disparities between white and black individuals. He also continued some of these statements in terms of like the future of Africa, but he was actually coming from like a place of like, I don't think this is good because of these certain things, right? He was trying to help. He was trying to like highlight and blow the whistle on the IQ disparities there and why Africa is not growing. And so we have this here from AF Post, put it up on screen as you can see it. This is the man here. And you can see right there, AF Post puts that in the quote, persona non grata about the scientific community for noting racial differences in IQ scores. So RIP to James Watson. I have a short clip here just to see some of the stuff that he was behind. I'm going to have to turn the music off because I'm probably going to get copyrighted if I don't. But here's him. And so
there's a difference on the average.
I'll cut the audio in a second.
Whites on IQ tests. I would say the difference is it's genetic.
So, he says the difference is genetic there. Then he also says honorary titles of repeating racist comments in the documentary. And so this is just to show like how long this has been going on. There really is the idea of consensus in the science community is basically, you can trust that as far as you can trust the media essentially. But RIP to him. And would be a great soldier to have younger in his life actually to begin, helping us, if you will. And the reason why I looked at the 97-year-old and wanted to add him in here too is because I added this in the video I had earlier, and many of you probably have already seen this, where on Good Morning Britain, a 100-year-old veteran by the name, I believe his name is Alec Jones, not Alex Jones, but like Alec Jones. He's 100 years old, and he basically gives the statement that the sacrifice wasn't worth the result as a World War II veteran. And he highlights how This is not what he expected when he was giving out these sacrifices. And he highlights the sea of white stones of names of brothers that he fought alongside with that are no longer with them and didn't make it back home from the war. And it's depressing for a number of reasons. But the thing to highlight here is the balkanization happening on the age brackets. And so what you have here is essentially the silent generation is in agreement with Gen Z. So you have Gen Z largely arguing from a place of, no, race is real, genetics, we want our homogeny, we want to, our nation is actually built on an identity of people. And then you have the silent generation coming out and saying, I can't even recognize what I fought for. And it's very sad too. And the handling of it was so cringe because he's sitting down with a liberal woman and I think like some Middle Eastern guy. And of course, they're not going to receive what he's saying in any kind of, polite way. And so she's patting him on the back going, we're going to, I hope all these future generations are going to honor that memory. And it's like, no, you're not. You are absolutely shitting on it. You are shitting on it and like wiping your feet in it. You're scooting across the floor. You know how dogs do it? That's how they do it. That's how everyone's been treating all the sacrifices our men gave in World War II. It's just rubbing their ass across the carpet, shitting on everything. And not to be vulgar at all, but the idea that this woman and this Middle Eastern guy who could probably barely speak English is going to uphold anything that guy fought for is just an absolute joke. But to show you again, silent generation agreeing with Gen Z, and now you have a lot of the millennials kind of falling off that bandwagon too. So basically, we're just looking at Gen X and the boomers to figure out when they are going to open their eyes and get with the program. And that's kind of where we're moving to, which is then I think that the Gen Z youth is going to have to start either, and more likely Gen Z men are going to have to start acting as a monolith. And that was kind of the idea behind the show yesterday, right? Holding the Republican Party hostage. That's just where we are now. It's entirely withholding votes until we get the terms that we asked for. And it's not even the terms like these brand new terms, right? It's more so like, how about you give us the promise that was here in 2016 that has been failed, 6 ways from Sunday, and every attempt to actually execute on it. And that's kind of where we are. And I've seen some of this too, but I'm sure that's only going to draw the ire of obviously the older crowd. But this is kind of the point. You're not entitled to our votes. Not a single ounce of it. And on top of that too, all you guys do, and this is to the GOP, is pander. It's nonstop pandering to women. It's nonstop pandering to blacks. It's pandering to gays. It's saying, but there's always a place for, there's always a place for a gay guy on my team, right? I think there was even a quote from Marine Le Pen, right? She's running like the far right party there in France. And she's talked about how gay people are like salt to any political movement. Like we need some, but not too many. It's like, this is why women like should not even be in politics, period. And right. And this is an argument. You could go further into this argument from Homath, who does a great job doing the kind of meta thinking and the meta analysis of it, and why this is just simply not, why it's just nonsensical in terms of the arguments there. But that's basically kind of the point where I'm at too on multiple ends. One, I think the war drums for repeal the 19th are getting louder and louder, especially when you have a glaring like 84% of women voted for Zohran Mamdani. And to think that's what the 84% of women voted for Zohran Mamdani. Meanwhile, the Republican Party is doing nothing. Like all they do nonstop is pander to women and constantly excise anybody who's like being too chauvinistic or like, being too mean to women, right? Andrew Tate. I mean, still, it's like they judge up these charges that like don't go anywhere from, overseas. And same thing they do with Nick Fuentes or anybody who gets close to being, too chauvinistic or too anti-women, if you will. And so where did that pandering bring you, right? Where did all this nonstop glazing over this, covert feminism and the Megyn Kellys of the world and, insert any other e-girl there that kind of stands as a gatekeeper, stands as a barrier of access to that. And what did it get you? It got you 2.5%, I think, of the vote. It's like, maybe what you should do is pander to the people who get you in office, which is predominantly white men. Maybe you should stop pretending like they don't exist. Maybe you should stop constantly, teetering and catering to all these other groups, right? It's a very basic commonsensical play. But that's where we are. Where we are right now is like, I will not ever vote. I will not vote one more time in this goddamn country until the person I'm voting for can say, Israel needs to get the fuck out of this country. America first. White men need to stop being shit upon, and we need to fix this female problem in this country. That's it. No vote will even come from me I don't care for the incrementalist argument. That's just where I am. So you guys can make these arguments, right? For maybe we should vote for this guy. He's kind of good. And I would understand those arguments too. But for me personally, nope. It's that or nothing. It's that, or maybe I will actively vote for Gavin Newsom. Hey, GOP. Hey, fuck you. And I'm not even trying to be too vulgar. I shouldn't even be cussing that much. But I mean, this is where we are. And the anger is palpable. And I think you can see it. You can feel it. And categorically, again, like some of the negative externalities of this is the fact that a lot of men are just killing themselves. A lot of the men are just like, they're just disappearing. They're just not participating. They don't have any urge to even try. They know what awaits them on the other side of that. And again, in the microcosm of that, you can go back to the Tucker Carlson and the Nick on the wives and how women act and et cetera. And I'm not going to, embark on that too. But it is just aggressive at this point. Aggressive, and yes, radical Greek, very depressing, that we all, everyone here, all of us lesser men, right? All of us working class people, all of us guys who have to live paycheck to paycheck can clearly fucking see what is going on and what needs to be restored, what needs to be corrected for us to begin moving in the right direction. And then seeing as all the people who are supposedly the better men who have access to all of the finances in their great ivory towers up here are just in a free fall. They just can't understand it. And that's to not miss the bigger point, which is this country is literally being held hostage by a foreign entity. And it has to go. It has to go. I mean, and we're going to get into this other story here too, but Miriam Adelson dumping $20 more million into Trump's coffer so he can continue to attack Thomas Massie. Being joined by Paul Singer and John Paulson. Wow, I wonder what their prerogative is. I wonder what their most important issue is. I'm sure it's America. It's just insane. Like, and I don't even care what the arguments for Thomas Massie anymore. I will full send a vote for Thomas Massie if I can, which I can't probably even vote in the country or that in that state. But for whatever, has my full support. Anything that is in opposition to this extremely pro-Israel Zionist organized cabal between these Christian Zionists and the Jewish diaspora, anything that opposes that gets my vote. I don't care if the name of that guy is Zoran Mamdani. That's what you get. That is what you get. Now, people probably don't. It might be controversial, but I've also kind of been teetering on this back and forth for a hot minute, but I feel like I am a full-blown accelerationist at this point. I don't want to be accelerationist in the aspect of hoping that we're playing a game of chicken, that if I do withhold my vote, that we do suffer serious losses, which we already have, Virginia, New Jersey, these mayoral races in Minnesota, New York City, that maybe the other side will stand down. Maybe the other side will start to panic and go, oh shit, we really might lose everything. So, will we win that game of chicken? Who knows? But what do we have to lose at this point? What else could we lose, right? The value of the dollar, can it get any worse? Could the dollar mean any less, right? Dude, and then it's like, they want all these guys, they're pandering to all these dudes who don't have homes, who aren't married, who are 33 years old, who quite frankly have nothing to live for. And then it's sad. They're going, and here's why you need to do now. Click. The message isn't even reaching them. They're not even listening to it in the first place. So another fake hate crime hit New York City. I believe this was in New York City, and this was in response. This was in like the direct aftermath of Zoran winning, and supposedly that somebody had painted a swastika somewhere. Oh, big hate crime, and no joke. Myron Gaines actually called this the day before this footage was released that it probably was a Jew who did it. And no joke, security footage is released. This is from Red Pill Media. It says, breaking: the swastika sound that was found in New York City after Mamdani's election was painted by an Orthodox Jew. Now, this isn't the best camera angle, but you can obviously see the garb there. I saw a better camera angle from different places. But one thing I would say on this too is like, maybe it was a disguise, like maybe there's potential it could be a disguise. As far as I've seen, they've not arrested the guy yet. So maybe it could be a full-blown, a jihadist wearing full-blown, Orthodox Jew garb, maybe. But but I doubt it. And this is status quo, right? Jesse Smollett, all these different, vandalizations, right? It's like almost every time a swastika is painted, it's like they find out. It's like the homeowner themselves painted it, right? It's so fake. And again, I wish we could move away from all this hate crime stuff, but it just won't leave. It won't exit the mainstream. In addition, though, another smaller story before we start to get into the big one with Ben Shapiro and the TuckerCaust is that Turkey did issue arrest warrants for Netanyahu and 36 other Israeli officials for genocide and crimes against humanity committed in Gaza. Istanbul Chief Public Prosecutor's Office. And so while this isn't as newsworthy as, on its own, what I would say is this. I think with the tensions and the obvious, we're literally at war with Russia right now. And it's a Cold War. It's about to get kinetic with Venezuela as like a proxy. But what I'm finding and what I would imagine from this is it feels like the BRICS nations are beginning to use Israel as their pressure campaign against the United States. And likewise, like I touched upon at the beginning of the show yesterday, that Russia is giving air defense systems to Venezuela because they want to make it harder for the U.S. to basically wipe out that force, because Russia has good, trade deals and they have a good relationship with Venezuela. And then now you see Turkey also issuing these arrest warrants that also follow the ICC warrants. It does make me think then this is now going to put the United States in an odd position, because the United States has put out sanctions on anyone who has issued arrest warrants. So is the United States going to sanction Turkey? I would expect that. And once again, we are finding ourselves in an escalatory position with BRICS nations. Hence why the argument from Nick, which is why we probably should attempt regime change in Venezuela, although I don't enjoy that aspect of it, is the fact that the reason for it is because the weakening of control in our own hemisphere, being pushed by largely China, who, as far as I understand, is like the second largest trading partner now in that region, with us being number one. And so what happens if China becomes a number one trading partner in our own hemisphere? And so there's arguments there to be made about the American empire and how far that should go. But it's not looking good. And so, on multiple fronts, we're dealing with this absolute BS happening in the Middle East with, I believe, still CENTCOM soldiers on the ground overseeing stuff going on. I've not paid attention to it recently, so I don't know if the CENTCOM guys got withdrawn because of how poorly the peace deal is going on. But obviously the war with Ukraine and Russia is still ongoing, and then now we have a potential at home front, or not really home front, but very close to the home front with Venezuela, with I think it's over 10,000 guys now, and a lot of, at least a single USS carrier getting ready to rain hellfire on Venezuela for not revolting against Maduro. And it continues. It continues more talking about, and this the overall thing here is like more that doesn't help the average American. Here's more news that's the top of the news cycle that doesn't help the average American. It's geopolitical. It's worrying about all of these international ties and alliances and sending billions of dollars. And it's just, I'm getting used to it. I really didn't think I would, but this is basically like, it's like Stockholm syndrome. We're getting used to the person spitting on us. Like I'm not going to get too vulgar with that. One of the featured stories here. So there's kind of two of them really outside the community submissions, and that is the Ben Shapiro and the TuckerCaust. And so what I have here is actually a longer clipped out kind of compilation here from where is it? This is a longer clip. It's from Fishback, which whatever he's from. Basically puts it together. And so he's kind of coming from it from obviously a negative angle. He supports Ben Shapiro, so you know where his loyalties lie. But he writes here, new footage has been released from Megyn Kelly's conversation with Ben Shapiro. I know it wasn't technically a debate, but three things really stood out. And so I'm not going to read his retardedness. I'm just going to give you my opinion on it. And it was just a struggle session. It was the most kind of uncouth I've seen Ben behave, especially towards like a female pundit as well. But he got up and antsy with Megyn Kelly over some specific topics. And I think at one point, literally Ben does say, like, who gives a shit directly to Megyn Kelly while she's trying to provide or give an argument back as to something related to Tucker. So we're going to watch this. This will be me watching it the first time in real time. I've only seen some of the captions floating from it. And if it's not included in this clip, what also is there is that they literally played the clip of Nick Fuentes playing GTA 5, chasing down Ben Shapiro, which is hilarious. And also, there's a clip also floating where Ben makes the direct remark that Candace Owens is evil. Then we're going to look at what PBD had to say or what he revealed about Ben Shapiro earlier this morning. And so let's go ahead and switch it over here. Let's take a listen.
So you and I have talked about Nick Fuentes many times over the years in our many appearances together. And that's how I knew about him, because he was saying absolutely terrible things about you. And I am going to show a video, please forgive me, of one of my first introductions to this guy, Nick Fuentes, and what he was saying about Ben. This is a video of him showing himself playing Grand Theft Auto, right, a video game where you shoot people, and he's pretending that this character in the video is Ben. Let's watch.
Ah! Oh, that's funny. That's
So Nick's
funny.
greatest hits
Yeah,
continue.
That makes me laugh and laugh. That's a funny one. What a chance encounter that was. I think I just saw Ben Shapiro.
And it goes on. It goes on.
I mean, I would hate for people to believe that the Nick Fuentes sort of, my problems with Nick Fuentes are about me, because they really are not. They are about the fact that Nick Fuentes is a truly horrifying person who believes truly horrifying things. I mean, again, there is a reason why Charlie Kirk despised him. There is a reason why every mainstream political commentator has been highly critical of him. It's the reason why these are not arguments. This is not a person who's making arguments. He is a Hitler-loving troll, and I say that advisedly. He literally says on his show that he loves Adolf Hitler. Okay, so the reason this has come up in recent weeks is because Tucker, your guest last night, decided to have him on last week and to completely gloss him.
You can just like tell he's angry, just like from some of the small body language. Now this is my opinion from just, a random white dude in Ohio, but you can tell, like, it looks like he is, like, obviously very visibly angry. And additionally too, like, what an insane clip to stand over with some kind of moral high ground. Nick said it best when in these comparisons with Randy Fine, and I think someone else did too, Brett Cooper as well. The idea that these words that are being said here are so aggressive, like are like the most important thing that needs to be like policed and like shut down in this country, compared to literally anything else that's happening, is just insane. And then you compare it to the people who are down crying it, right? Just use Randy Fine. You don't even need to look anywhere else. This is the dude who's laughing at pictures of dead children from Gaza. I mean, like, I think Brett Cooper highlighted that he had to take anger management because of like the way that he couldn't even handle criticism from his own constituents. Like, he's a disgusting human being. If anyone is the monster, it is the people who are screaming the loudest.
My opinion. And you can make up your own opinion as to what you think Tucker was doing during that interview, but I know what it looks like when Tucker Carlson decides to be an aggressive interviewer, when he decides to ask difficult questions of people. Tucker is eminently capable of doing that. He did it to Ted Cruz quite thoroughly. But he decided, for any number of reasons, and I try not to attribute motivations to people, that he was going to treat Fuentes with
Look how Megan
kid gloves,
towers over Ben. That's funny.
that he was
She is
going
pretty
to
big.
not ask him about any of the things that I've just mentioned, literally any of them, and to essentially normalize Fuentes, act as a sort of gateway drug, or as what I've called Tucker, as an ideological launderer of bad ideas over the last couple of years. And this is not coming from a place of animus for Tucker on a personal level. I've known Tucker for a very long time. Tucker and I, whenever we're in personal situations, we get along great. I think I saw that Tucker talked about how we were at Charlie's memorial in the vice president's box together, and he's correct. I mean, we saw each other, we said hello, we talked, it was very friendly, and all of that.
And one thing is here too, and I'm kind of back on the side that I don't think Charlie Kirk was actually converting at all, which is where I was kind of flip-flopping a little bit, just given on some of the recent stuff. But the Steve Deese revelation has blown me back to where I was. Now, what you have here, right? He's referenced, I think, Charlie like at least 3 times, in terms of like kind of leveraging that emotionality a little bit. But Steve Deese revealed, if you weren't here yesterday, right? Steve Deese reveals that Charlie Kirk set up in the final month of his life, he set up a specific signal chat between himself, Charlie, and a couple other people to devise a plan to counteract Nick and expose him as being a vile or like a virulent, anti-Semite or monstrous person, whatever, whatever that's supposed to be. And so you have, again, two of these competing ideals, right? Two of these competing theories. You have one, which is people would say that no, Charlie was turning on Israel, which I just don't see it. If anything, I would say maybe coming closer to where Tucker was at. But when you see his language towards Nick, it's like he definitely wasn't becoming an American first groiper. And I think even with the Steve Deese revelation, it's like to buy even that he was going where Tucker was at, I think it's laughable. I think he was just feeling the pressure of being humiliated every single day.
It's also true that a couple of days after Charlie's murder, he reached out and he called me and he said, listen, I know that we're at odds, and we've been at odds for a number of reasons, mainly political. I mean, again, on a personal level, I'd go fishing with Tucker anytime. The real question is, for me, I got into this business because I care about the ideas and I care about the ideals. And so when you're determining what is conservatism, what should the future of America look like, and where do you draw the lines, those are the questions that I need to answer in my job. For me, my business is really not about friendship. I have lots of friends, people who I love, with whom I disagree on politics and don't believe they should be leaders in the conservative movement, for example. And that, to me, is the real question. In any case, Tucker reached out. He said, we've had a bunch of disagreements, and, what if we could put those aside and align toward...
What was the Steve Deese revelation? So Steve Deese revealed, I think this was yesterday morning, Steve Deese revealed that Charlie Kirk got him in a private signal chat, and the whole goal of that chat was to him bounce off ideas between himself, Charlie Kirk, and there's a couple other people involved, of how to counteract Nick Fuentes' anti-Semitism and how they could further prevent, I think the specific verbiage was to further prevent groypers from getting into the movement. So basically policing and figuring out how to keep groypers boxed in this place where we'd have no political influence. That's what made me think that, and that was in the final month of his life too, so that's even closer and further beyond some of the other clips that people played in defense of his change.
Or the DSA in particular is what he mentioned. And I said, Tucker, you're totally right, let's do that. That would be great. In fact,
the TSA?
The DSA, the Democratic Socialists of
Why
America.
The TSA? How did that bring you together?
The Democratic Socialists of America. And the reason
I know.
Yes, and the reason that I'm taking out
TSA
my
only
phone
divides people.
is because, yes, the reason I'm taking out my phone is because I don't just, I like to evidence what I'm saying with, actual evidence. So I texted him, and the text exchange was very nice. I mean, here's what the actual text exchange went like after the call. So I texted him, and I said, thanks so much for calling. It means the world. It truly does. Should we do a show together talking about the DSA threat, Democratic Socialists of America threat, and orienting in the same direction? Happy to do whatever it takes to bring everyone back together for the fight that matters. And Tucker then wrote back, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm going to spend the next week or two thinking about how to be most effective. The country is clearly on the brink. I reached out repeatedly after that. Nothing happened. And again, I thought it was a good idea at the time. I think I felt differently after I saw what he did with Nick Fuentes, and after he proceeded, in my opinion, to spend the subsequent weeks doing literally nothing to fight the left. I say this with sadness because Tucker used to be, I think, a deeply important part of the conservative push to win.
But I do agree with the audience. This is grating to listen to, actually. So I'm going to go to some of the smaller clips. But somebody said it in chat too. They didn't even play like the full clip. They didn't even play like the funniest part of the GTA clip with Nick, which is like him like chasing after this Jew guy in GTA for like 5 minutes on the road. He's like, I just want to ask you some questions. Let's debate. I have some questions for you, sir. We'll go over to some of the smaller ones here. Let's go to the Candace Owens one. This is from Chief Chumpster. And we'll just read the caption here, but Ben Shapiro is claiming that Candace Owens believes that Erica Kirk was responsible for killing Charlie Kirk. Wow. All right. Let's take a listen.
For example, Candace Owens. I think that what Candace Owens is doing right now is evil. It is evil what she is doing right now.
Evil.
Okay, and I say that again.
But
Because
Like,
it is
I didn't opine on whether it's evil or not, but my position is it's really none of my business. And
Why is it?
Selective
I
hearing
have a
for Ben
question.
Shapiro.
Why
I
is it
agree.
none of
I
your
have it
business?
too.
I mean, you
because
comment
I
on these things for a living.
I'm not mother of the internet.
No, but if this were on the left and somebody were accusing Charlie Kirk of his wife having murdered him, I assume that you would be talking about it.
Is that what Candace is accusing Erica of?
Yes.
Of murdering her own husband?
She's accusing TPUSA insiders and other members of the right wing, including Seth Dillon, of being involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk, yes.
Okay. Like I said, I don't take in that content, which is an honest statement.
Okay, well, I've not listened to the last couple of episodes from Candace Owens, but I've not. I don't think I think Ben is being a bit hyperbolic, with some of the claims that Candace Owens have made. I think as far as you could stretch what Candace has said, and again, I'm no fan of, I'm a, when she does good things, fan of Candace. No, the furthest she's went is it's. Let me do my Candace impression. That's weird. I think that's as far as she's went. Oh, the TPUSA guy there recording himself on camera. That's weird. Andrew Colvett doing that. That's weird. I think to stretch that in terms of full blown operation, and that Erica Kirk specifically, and maybe she did. Maybe I'm defending Candace for no reasons, but I don't think she said that verbatim there. More of the grading music.
I don't have time to watch.
No,
Candace's
I
show.
believe you. I believe you. But the point that I'm making is that
what I
that
understand
friendship
Candace
should
to
not,
have
in
been
our
doing.
business, I think it's important. Listen,
Candace
friendship
and I
should
are not
trump.
friends. We don't even know each other.
I understand, but even with Tucker, friendship should not trump our manifest requirement to speak out when people do and say things that are both detrimental to conservatism and morally wrong.
Okay, so I don't totally disagree, but I think the way of handling that, at least for me, is much different. So I saw things go south between you and Tucker.
Yeah. And it was a little wild to hear any applause, right? Yeah, how much did that applause cost? I think somebody said that in there a little bit ago, which is just insane. And but here's the worst one, right? This one's actually circulating because he actually gets a little heated with Megyn Kelly, right? Who gives a shit is the quote here. Ben Shapiro used naughty language and I'm proud of him. And listen. I looked everywhere for all of about 4.5 minutes for a high quality video of this interaction, and I literally I couldn't find one. So the best I got for you is from the fisted patriot, the gay man who will not shut up. He doesn't even deserve any more attention than that, to be honest. But here's this.
That if I see some,
Whoa, holy shit! It about blew myself out of the room. My gosh.
somebody breach basic moral values by having on a Nazi, and in my own view, you take your own view, in my own view, gloss the Nazi, then I'm going to speak out about that, and I'm going to point out that there is a long pattern of him ideologically laundering terrible ideas over the course of the last 2 years, ranging from traveling to Russia to sniff the bread and explain why the Russian regime is actually wonderful, to saying last week that the Venezuelan regime of Nicolas Maduro is actually not that bad because they're being attacked by, in his words, globo homo.
They are, though.
I'm not going to here to be Tucker's defender, but he's made the point that Maduro is culturally conservative.
Who gives a shit? The guy's a communist.
So there you have it. Who gives a shit? So it's clear that this crowd is not in Megyn Kelly's favor, which I find to be a little suspect, to be honest with you.
He's super faithful to the United States to kill Americans. What do you give a shit whether he's anti-LGBTQ rights? This is the number one thing about Nicolas Maduro. You know how far down the list you have to get before you can get to anything remotely recommendable about Nicolas Maduro?
I did ask him.
And isn't that just what's sad? It's the sad part about that is that Ben won't actually directly engage any of the people he has problems with. Well, for one, he's a coward, and two, he's a huge pussy. And this is what they're all doing. Seth Dillon included, Steven Crowder, which I don't know if Steven Crowder is extended an outreach to Tucker Carlson, but I would expect out of anybody it would be him. But it's like, hey Ben, why don't instead of you just constantly sniping people and never actually showing up to debate anybody, you show up to try to debate Tucker Carlson, or you debate Nick Fuentes. Both of these, which I would imagine he's not going to do. And all of it about Tucker Carlson talking about how Maduro is actually culturally conservative, right? Like, and that's what makes them mad. It makes them mad that Tucker just points out things. Well, whatever your opinion of Tucker is irrelevant. But he's just pointing out things that don't make sense, right? Why is Venezuela more culturally conservative than America? That doesn't make any sense. Aren't they supposed to be socialist? Right? And just like, Tucker doing his all basic, basically what he's been doing for the last year, which is highlighting a lot of that. And thank you for subscribing to the channel. I do appreciate it. Hopefully we'll hit 18K later tonight. I'm hoping so. As long as I don't get eliminated by the Brazilians, There's always Rumble, the guy said before he gave up YouTube and just went back to regular job. So that's kind of basically it for Ben Shapiro and the TuckerCaust. I mean, what other thoughts can I provide to that besides? I guess I just don't understand the appeal to this. To me, it's like I don't get how do regular people? Because I guess I can't even consider myself normie anymore, right? I'm like a political junkie. I'm a far right extremist. That's designated by the left, if you will. Which is just like this. How does it? This clearly, there's no way this appeals to a broad audience. At least I would think, right? And I'm someone who always will sit here and be the first to say that these individuals are, what's the word? They take advantage of the average person being retarded. But I would imagine even regular people would not be so game for this. Zoomer Historian got taken out today. Oh my gosh, dude. My name is on the wall. My name is on the wall. It's coming, dude. It's coming. And they eliminated 3 channels yesterday as part of the sanctions from Donald Trump. And think we're now getting more YouTube censorship, like following their announcement of our commitment to free speech. Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. I mean, at least he's got an audience on X. That's meaningful somewhat. He can at least still reach out to people there. I don't know how big his X account is, or how big his YouTube was even. But it's 2 now. Base Lore, now Zoomer Historian. Shameless Berg happened about a month and a half ago. That's 3 people who are close to me. I don't think anybody's even gotten a hold of Base Lore. I've reached out to that girl Casey multiple times on that end, and you're just gone. And that's what happened to you. Yeah, make a backup channel. I mean, I exist on X, and so I guess and I also exist on the New American Vision Network, so I'd still be there if anything happened to me. Obviously, it would, lose a good bit of the financial aspect to it. Like, that would suck. Trust me, that would really suck after making it this far and working. But it is what it is. It's me. I'm challenging YouTube to honor the First Amendment, basically. That's what this channel is. It's a challenge, and I'll still exist on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I'll say that too. For anyone who doesn't know this already, I do upload everything to Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well too. So I do exist there as well. But maybe you're right. Maybe another channel does need to be getting made. Moving on though, covering this story here, Miriam Adelson leading a $20 million campaign against Massie, which really is not the correct framing here from Dominic Michael Trippi. A little correction. She might be the head funder of it, but yes, we covered that yesterday. Defo Zappo, 700 videos, and it was from 3 individual channels, and it was all because they were explicitly named in the sanctions by Donald Trump. So YouTube and Google were honoring those sanctions from those 3 groups. And the reason why they were named was because they had provided materials to the ICC, which issued arrest warrants to Netanyahu and others. I mean, it was just Netanyahu and one of the defense ministers is who the ICC did. Turkey went above and beyond. Turkey got Netanyahu and 36 other officials. But yes, and so where I was going with this is it says new Miriam Adelson had $20 million campaign effort to unseat Rep. Thomas Massie from Bloomberg. And the issue is let me just reframe this a little bit, is actually Donald Trump is who's heading the anti-Massie campaign. Donald Trump, I believe it was himself, had pledged $2 million. Maybe I could be wrong on that, but $2 million have already gone into attack ads on Thomas Massie. I believe AIPAC is basically already pledged in a campaign against Thomas Massie. Now you have Miriam Adelson and you have Paul Singer and John Paulson, who aren't listed in this tweet, are all going to be pledging up to $20 million to eliminate Thomas Massie. And the reason is why. Why is that? Well, it's because Thomas Massie, bless his soul, Thomas Massie, unfortunately, is still under the belief that this is the United States of America. And it's very sad. I know he's getting old. But Thomas Massie, having the gall as an American citizen to do something in his own country is now facing the consequences of that. And it is rather unfortunate. Because yes, this is actually the United States of Israel. And what would you think that Miriam Adelson and John Paulson and Paul Singer all have in common? What are their prerogatives? It's not American interest, right? That's obviously foreign interest. And it's just sad. I mean, you're literally having entire campaigns and attack campaigns and smear campaigns, which most of you in here already understand that. But to see it becoming more public, more broad, in $20 million, $22 million in a race in Kentucky. Thomas Massie's probably going to need some help, which I know he's already done a couple GoFundMes, and he might have an active one right now to help him fight against that. But it's insane. It is insane the amount of money they're willing to just dump into these things to ensure that they can get a pro-Israel candidate, or at least somebody who won't, conflict with their interest. They'll put a leftist in there. They'll put anyone as long as they go with our greatest ally. Say the line, Bert. Say the line. And I have this other tweet in here too. It's from AF Post, but just to show you that it is. Oh, I'm not even on screen. Just to show you that it is Paul Singer and John Paulson coming in. And so who knows where the money, who's donating what. I would imagine Miriam's donating the broader portion, her being the richest of the three, I believe. And it's to go after the grandstander, the moral grandstander, Thomas Massie. It's sad, man. And I think the sad part too is watching all of these smaller MAGA creators. Because I'm I used to be in this network of these very pro MAGA people, and so I still have them followed in different areas, weird places too, in an older Discord, which I probably should leave before I get smeared in that thing. But also some of these smaller YouTube just kind of conglomerates of people just all get in this kind of group. They want to boost each other. It's just the way it is. And seeing all of them also these are people who for 2 years are Thomas Massie's my guy. Is there any better candidate? Is there any better, representative than Thomas Massie? Immediately flipped on its head because Trump is now going after him. They're going, wow, Thomas Massie really doesn't care. Really doesn't, Thomas Massie this, Thomas Massie that. And that's the thing is I agree with you. It came from Campo Mambo. We put it on screen. Massie's not based. He's fine with immigration. Massie's voting record on immigration's awful. He literally is. He's very close. He's basically Bernie Sanders on the right in terms of, border and immigration. But it's more so to say they're not against him because of that. That's not why Miriam Adelson's dumping $20 million into Thomas Massie's attack fund, into the war chest against Thomas Massie. They're putting it in there because Thomas Massie is wielding a political ideology, which is America first. He is threatening to uphold and push things that would be contradictory to their interest. And, the story with his wife, and he recently got remarried too, which I saw people were getting, up in arms and twisted about too. I don't know. I feel bad about that. And given the timing of his wife passing as well too, that was pretty rough as well. The Koch brothers fund him. Interesting. Very interesting. And there you have it. You can pick between the Koch brothers or the Adelsons. Have fun. And my thing is this. I will vote against anything. And anything that even has a 1% even touch of pro-Israel or Israel first policies. Dude, hell, I'll vote for Jasmine Crockett. I will vote for a ham sandwich. I will vote for Kanye West. I will vote for Andrew Tate. I would vote for literally any person on this planet before I vote for another GOP propagated pro-Israel candidate backed by same usual actors. Period. Period. Hold the Republican Party hostage. We have to. And getting away from Israel for a little bit, well, kind of. This is another news story hitting the cycle, and that is the fact that I was right about Nancy Mace. That's the headline. That's what New York Post should have written. No, there's a lot of people who were in this camp. But I did cover this a few months ago, and I just kind of went over the evidence from what I had seen from Nancy Mace, and would you look at that? It looks like I was correct on this. Nancy Mace basically went on a tirade about how she had just sent all of these mountains of evidence into, I believe, the attorney general there in South Carolina, as well as a few other people contacting the police and going on this big rant of, you know, the police don't care about women's problems. You know, they don't listen to rape victims. And so, funny enough, when you look into it, the attorney general at the time was expected to be her opponent in the governor race she's about to be a part of. And so I had said then, this looks like a bunch of nothing in an attempt to have material and ammunition to smear then attorney general, but soon to be gubernatorial candidate. So Nancy Mace can run those, those black and white ads where it's like, he said he cared about women. He ignored my trial. And it's like, it's like my problems, women. And that's kind of what she ran with. But here we have the fact that her ex-husband has now filing a lawsuit against her, claiming that she falsely accused him. Beautiful. If he wins this lawsuit, I don't care if it's criminal or civil, she needs to step down. Period. For one, she should step down because she's a woman. But if she's a woman and she's a false accuser, done. And I know I got some guys from South Carolina in there. You brothers better be the Southern Dixie boys over there, dude. You better get this woman out of office if this is proven to be true. She is a disgusting human being, a violently disgusting human being. And quite frankly, she is the face of why women in politics is a bad idea, is a bad combination, is just bad all around. She is the face of that. You look at women in politics, it's Nancy Mace's, insane, crazy looking face staring at you back. I wanted to bring attention to that. So moving on to the second featured story here, we're going to actually be looking at James Fishback. So James Fishback, if you might remember, I actually covered him a little bit. This was maybe last week. James Fishback started making some moves as the CEO of a company called Azoria, because he was cutting off companies that were heavily relying or solely relying on H-1Bs. And he started making some waves with this. He started being a bit more public. Now, the funny thing is this is now quickly transitioned into him potentially flirting with a gubernatorial run in Florida. So he would be going up against Byron Donalds. And I fully support him. And so to go back to what I said at the beginning, he might be the experiment. He might be the guy who's going to come out of nowhere that no one knew yesterday. He's a CEO, so he's obviously got local recognition. But a candidate who's going to come on the scene out of nowhere, who wasn't running previously, wasn't campaigning previously, and he's just going to say these 4 words: America first, Israel last. He'll win in a landslide. And to think, like, if he smokes Byron Donalds, who's been in the political picture in Florida for like the last 5 years as basically the right-hand man to Ron DeSantis, the black token guy who nods to Ron DeSantis all the time. What does that say? What would that say about politics? Now, Florida is a bit of a different basket because it does have a lot of concentration of pro-Israel support, given the fact that some of the laws even Ron DeSantis was able to pass through there. But man, so we're going to take a look at some of this stuff here because he's been actively going at Byron Donalds. So in no way have I seen that he has, pledged or committed to a run. But I read an article from the Floridian earlier today, and the headline was he's flirting with it. And I think he is. And given that he now has like multiple clips that have gone viral, I think he should try it. And so let's look at this first one here. This is him directly challenging Byron Donalds. And that's because Byron Donalds endorsed Randy Fine. Wow. Oh, wow. Wow. Crazy. Wow. You see this? Wow. Plot twist. No one saw that coming. Randy Fine called me this morning to berate me. This is James Fishback. Randy Fine called him to berate him for 42 minutes because it wouldn't be nice to Byron if he ran against him for Florida governor. Dude, these people are disgusting. They are disgusting. Since Byron Donalds endorses Randy, let me ask you, Byron, do you condemn Randy Fine's comment to starve away children in Gaza? So this was from November 5th at about noon. No response from Byron could be spotted. Byron Donalds is running from James Fishback. He's fleeing. He's sprinting. He is afraid. So then we have this one. Here's another one. So the challenges and the contentiousness. Well, if I can click on this stupid link. Here we go. Let me get rid of some of these links too before my computer explodes. You have this. This is James Fishback again. Byron, you are in absolutely no position to call anyone woke. 1, you said George Floyd was murdered. 2, you personally introduced a pro-shoplifting bill that raised the felony theft cap. I had no idea that was a thing. And 3, you sided with Kamala Harris over Florida's history standards. Sit this one out. And then he has this photoshopped with a caption here, or a screen grab, I should say, of Byron Donalds' statement on George Floyd. And Byron Donalds says that George Floyd's murder was a tragedy and justice must be done, because he was black. But if we truly want justice, we must come together as one America. We can't be divided and fall into violence. We can't target the people protecting our communities. I hope you stand with me. And just a bunch of, slop. And this is the quote tweet there. And so this isn't where it stops. And so to go to the call here, we actually have some words here from James Fishback about the call. And so I'll read a little bit from here. So he told Randy on the call, he says, Randy, if Byron is such a good candidate, he'll trounce me. But the truth is, Republicans are the ones who got trounced this week because of people like you and Byron Donalds. Let's take a listen. Mr. America First candidate, James Fishback.
Yesterday, Randy Fine called me. He berated me for 42 minutes about the Florida governor's race, telling me that if I entered that race, there would be real problems for me in the future, telling me that it wouldn't be nice to Byron Donalds if I ran against him, as if we don't have elections in this country. Randy, if Byron is such a good candidate, he'll trounce me. But the truth is, Republicans are the ones who got trounced this week. Republicans got trounced because of people like you and Byron Donalds. People like you and Byron Donalds who all you get done is write strongly worded letters, go on CNN and Fox News and whine, and then come back to your districts and act like you got something done for Americans. It's an absolute joke. The only person who's working in Washington, D.C. goes by the name of Donald J. Trump. And the do-nothing congressional Republicans, many of whom are good people. But the truth of the matter is that if Elon Musk emailed you guys and asked you what you got done this week, you would say absolutely nothing. Because you know what? Going on TV, whining on podcasts, and writing tweets does not count. That does not count as getting something done for hardworking Americans. But the beautiful thing about all of this is that you guys endorse each other. You and Byron are thick as thieves, which is quite fitting, actually. You guys endorse each other. Byron, you endorsed Randy for his congressional reelection. So Byron, let me ask you, do you endorse Randy Fine's comment on July 22nd, 2025, in which in response to children starving in Gaza, Randy said, quote, starve away? This is the problem. This is the problem with you congressional Republicans, is you are not focused on delivering for America first. We did not vote for foreign wars. We did not vote for bombing other countries. We did not vote for any of that. We voted for America first, period. End of story. And what you guys have done has been a complete humiliation, a complete rejection of the historic landslide, the mandate that we as voters gave President Trump. Get back to D.C., do your jobs, and actually deliver America first.
If you are an incrementalist, I do have to say, he's a better candidate for you than Byron Donalds. Maybe so marginally so that it literally doesn't even matter. But if you are an incrementalist, you need to be putting people like that in and not Byron Donalds. Especially not somebody who's going to blindly endorse Randy Fine. I didn't even know that Byron Donalds did that. Like, did you give him a kiss on the mouth afterwards, Byron? Did you spin on it too? Like, holy shit. Dude, white men might be getting shit on this country, but dude, black men are getting effeminized. What the Okay, let me get rid of this. Let me move this off the screen because there's more here from James Fishback. I was actually a lot more excited until I heard him say Trump, pro-Trump, anything. Guy just doesn't get it. People just aren't getting it. So here's a couple though. There's a couple more from James Fishback because I grabbed some. There's two. This is about Indian literacy, mind you, and the other one is him. What is America first? And so maybe we'll hear some things that we actually like a bit more than that. To be honest with us. Where this one? Okay, so this is what he says. He says we don't want anyone lecturing us about Indian literacy rates or Chinese math rates, which seems to me a pushback against Vivek's comments from last Christmas. Cut the crap now. We're Americans. We're talented. We're smart. And no, we're not giving up church on Sunday for more math tutoring. We're not skipping Friday Night Lights because there's a chemistry test to cram for. The second we stop apologizing for who we are, we will start winning again. So, I like the words, but is he just saying it or does he believe it?
Well, the Indian literacy rate is this and the Chinese math rate is that.
Bro, did these guys record with a microphone from the 1990s? Hold on, I'll fix it so it's louder. Let me change it a little bit. This should be good enough now.
Well, the Indian literacy rate is this and the Chinese math rate is that. Bull crap. We are Americans. We are talented. We are smart. And no, we're not going to give up church on Sunday for more math tutoring. No, we're not going to not go to Friday Night Lights because you have a chemistry test you really need to study hard for. We are willing to accept, to the extent that there are some gaps, which really there aren't if you look at the data because the data's rigged, we are willing to accept some gaps.
Hey, congratulations, Dad.
Because we don't want
to be
slaves. Not to Blackstone, not to the globalist, sure as heck not to the Democrat Party, but not to the unfettered obsession with the tiger moms. No, it's ridiculous. But we have Mass in an hour. Nope, can't go to Mass. Can't accept the Holy Eucharist. Can't do that. You got a test on Monday. You got to be better than the Chinese. Didn't you hear? The Indians placed third in the international math competition in Dubai. How dare you go play flag football? Well, didn't you hear? That Iranian kid is enriching uranium. Didn't you hear? Get back in your room.
Okay. This seems to be doing a whole lot without announcing running for any kind of position, right? So here's a second one. I'm guessing I won't even read the captions. He's saying this stuff verbatim. But here's another one. I don't know what this is at. It looks like he was at Boston University College Republicans. Interesting. Which I believe, funny enough, is the one that stood up in defense for that other guy who got basically blacklisted from them. This is like a week ago. I wish I could remember his name. Nick Solheim, I think was his name. All right, let's take a listen.
What do we mean by the America First?
All right, well.
What do we mean by the America First movement? You have to have a North Star. Because if you say America First, you reasonably could argue that in 4 years, well, America First, stock market's at 7,000. It's pretty good. GDP is now 35 trillion. Cool. Tariffs have collected $500 billion in the last 6 months. But if you guys come here, work hard, study hard, do everything right, take on debt like your teachers and your college counselors told you to, and you can't get a job, when you're being treated like a second-class citizen in your own country by foreigners, that is not America First. And so America First, ? The title of our conversation today is about not the America First movement, which I unapologetically support. It is about how we measure the success of the America First movement.
This is, I'm going to be honest, I'm a little disappointed in that one. This is very Vivek-like rhetoric. He's missing one word in there. Starts with a W. It's called white. I don't know why everybody's so afraid. I mean, I get it. But still, It's like I said earlier, like what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? Oh wow, your friends won't like you. Oh wow. Oh no, my friend won't like me. That's worth losing the country for. I don't get it. I was a lot more excited with to be playing more James Fishback from what I had seen. The most viral thing from him though was his appearance on Fox Business actually, and so that's where I kind of started building out from the story. I went backwards. So here's what was from the latest today. This is from yesterday actually. Yesterday at noon when he was on with Fox Business. So he says, I will not allow Blackstone to come into Florida, buy entire neighborhoods, and force out families who just want to buy a new home. Yeah, this is I do feel like he's just very vague. He does not look white in here. They turned the white lights on and the white left his face. It's funny. Yeah, this guy's Albanian. I don't want to hear any more Albanian comments about me. This is an Albanian. We don't even look the same. Look. Good enough? Good enough? See, can I be less racially ambiguous now? All right, here it is. It's less than a minute.
Blackstone, no, you're.
All right, let's not take more bodies and more eardrums. My gosh. It was so loud.
Not going to come in and outbid a family of 4 who wants to buy this home, grow that family to 6, get a new job, and contribute to the community.
Thank you,
Blackstone has done nothing for our country. Everyday Americans built this country. They deserve single-family homes, not private equity giants. We did not sign up for a country where a company like Blackstone can take money from Chinese overseas investors, come into our communities, take homes that belong to Americans, outbid homes that belong to Americans. The social and economic repercussions of that are off the charts. When my dad was growing up in the 1960s, half of 30-year-olds like him were married and owned their home. Today, Charles, only 15% of 30-year-olds own their home and are.
Yeah, nah, you know what? No, actually, I'm sticking with what I said in the video. Pro-white, Christian nationalist, decouple from Israel. That's it. I'll vote for Byron Donalds, I guess. One more time. Continue the Ron DeSantis legacy, since he's basically, a brainchild of it. That dude is Italian. All I know is I didn't hear white ones. I understand Blackstone's an issue, but this continual obsession with maintaining and staying inside of the economic realm, instead of acknowledging the actual cultural problems that are much more, in my opinion, important and much more vital to the health and future of this nation. It's like, let's just continue kicking the can down the road. He's probably trying to make an extra couple, $1 million with some kind of governor race, possibly. And that's only, and on the flip side, that's the danger of it. Because there's such an open vulnerability in the Republican Party, all you would basically have to say, if you wanted to run, was America first, Israel last. And then you can basically do whatever you want. But we need more than that. We need a lot more than that. Incrementalist, sure, but I'm not an incrementalist. I am a accelerationist. I am radical, that is for sure. This is not for the weak-willed. I do have a couple of community submissions, though, I'd like to get into. We move away from some of the more featured stories. So now you guys know a bit more about James Fishback. But we have a couple from Michael Johnson. Well, 2 from Michael Johnson. One of his was the tribal warfare we covered at the very beginning. And the second one of his is actually about female takeover. But we're going to cover a couple of these. Let's get into the community submissions.
This is today's community submission.
So the first community submission here actually comes from House AI, who is an absolute dog in Discord and a dog in chat. Guy is smarter than me. I don't know why he doesn't start a channel yet. But that is the fact that a reminder, or it's more of a revisit here, because the article I pulled from was from February 1st, 2024. But it is the fact that the number 1 American donor to AIPAC is OnlyFans. So I'm going to highlight this article here. I know you guys don't want to be bright lighted here, But let me find this here. All right, everybody, you ready? Put on your sunglasses. Put on your sunglasses. All right. So here we go. And if I can pull down here, let me see here for the OnlyFans. I'm trying to find the guy specifically listed here. Right here. 3 individuals named on the list denied being donors. That includes Leonid Radvinsky, the billionaire owner of OnlyFans, a hugely popular internet platform dominated by sex workers. According to the internal documents, Radvinsky and his wife, Katie Chudnovsky, pledged $11 million to AIPAC, the most of anyone listed. Now, I've known this for a hot minute because of Ian Carroll, but many of you maybe didn't know this or did not realize this. The overwhelming, yeah, I'll get rid of it. Get rid of it. And the overwhelming thing here is, why would what does OnlyFans have to do with Christian conservative values? Does anyone know? Anything? Anything at all? That's right, it doesn't. And I think that, for one, is obviously a major glaring element, because I would wager that the vast majority of Christian conservatives in this country would like to see OnlyFans restricted or eliminated in some way or fashion, if not entirely banned forever. But here they are, clearly the most influential PAC in all of America, at least in the right wing. Their number one donor is from a company that is literally socially contradictory to the values that it supposedly upholds. This is once again to show you that the interest of the pro-Israel lobby and crowd is not at all, or really in any way, aligned with that of a Christian nationalist, or what an American interest would be from a Christian conservative perspective. So, great look on that for House. That probably does need to be brought up once a month. It needs to be highlighted. Hey, look at this. Hey, did you see this? Bring it up again. But the more scary one is an article here from about Archive in archive.is, and I'm actually using archive.ph to look at this, which is funny. I mean, House kind of joked about this. And this one also is from House as well. And that is the fact that the FBI tried to unmask the owner of the infamous Archive and archive mirroring websites. And so this is an archiving site, many of which, if you are a political junkie, are probably more than familiar with and know why it is used so often. You know, anyone who's political junkie like me, that it's, basically used to archive articles before they either get deceptively edited or altogether deleted. And so they're basically snapshots of the web pages as they are, a lot of the time missing the metadata and pictures, but the majority of the article will be there. And the other use for it, which was used vastly in Gamergate, which was used quite a bit, was the fact that it actually gets around paywalls. Now, I think I might have told people this earlier in the week or last week. It's basically what I use to read the New York Times. The New York Times, for the most part, is vastly behind a paywall. So a lot of their articles recently with Nick Fuentes and some of the crumbling firewall article, I used archive.ph because it was a snapshot, right? It was a snapshot, and that way you don't have to actually go to the traffic there. But in Gamergate, the same thing was happening. In Gamergate, it was being used because the whole thing with Gamergate was how many of these small little news sites and blogs were constantly just doing the social justice warrior stuff, which was they'd take a game and they would go racist, homophobic, they hate women, they'd attach all of the buzzwords to it, and they just have an article about it. And so it gained prominence throughout Gamergate because what people were doing was sending the traffic to that article on archive.ph or one of the mirroring websites, because it would mean that the traffic wasn't actually going to the original website that was housing it, which restricts its traffic, meaning less people and less advertisements are being given out and divvied out from there. So this story is about how the FBI issued a subpoena on October 30th to, I can't really pronounce it right, it's TuckerCaust, or TuckerCaust, I think is the actual name of it, but it's a popular Canadian domain registrar for the customer or subscriber name, address of service, and billing address, and other information about the, quote, customer behind archive.today. And I'll tell you this too. I've never used the .is. I always use .ph. I think this is that's kind of like my favorite. It's like my favorite. My favorite use. Don't ask me why it's better. It just has always worked better for me. But again, this is it's not a good look that they're wanting to basically figure out who it is. Now, I'm kind of the mindset that maybe this is what the purpose of it is for. I'm curious if they are attempting to get behind that, right, and eliminate the usage of that. And I'm not sure, I don't even know how widespread it is, but I'm sure that would be something the FBI is concerned about because it's not an American interest. It's like, we got to defend the New York Times. The 2,000 people that are using archive.ph, we must find them. Extradite them to New York City. Like, you know what I mean? It just, it's a little disturbing. So hopefully we can get another archive site up and running, which, speaking of, there's a newer one that came out and about. But these things are necessary, and I would imagine this would be a very big thing to explore, which is the archives need to stay up. How many news stories would in news narratives would be entirely different if, and as much as I hate him, or that's a strong word, as much as I dislike him, with Tim Pool being able to pull up archive.ph of this article and say, no, you wrote here this, and then you changed it and edited it here when you were proven to be. But what if we didn't have that? What if we just trusted Google? Like, we can't have that. No way. This is like a very First Amendment level free speech argument. FBI needs to maybe focus on more American issues than defending the New York Times and all these small blog articles that aren't getting their extra 0.18 cents in ad revenue. Greedy MFers. And then this is the other one. This is actually the other one from Michael Johnson. So Michael Johnson sent me the second one. Now, it's really more so just, again, more of the same, like a status quo. And again, that's getting closer to being what the show's going to be called. But this is what Michael Johnson writes, and it's a tweet from himself. He says, "This is exactly the sort of thing that pisses me off. We need far more unity and decisiveness at the local levels. They left this guy out to dry because conservatives are massive pussies when it comes to fighting for their supposed ideals. Women run their politics, and it shows." Now, anybody who might be new here knows that I say this probably once a day, that the conservatism can go as far as conservatism in this country goes as far as the man's leash is to the wife who's holding it. And that is Daily Wire. That is mainstream conservatism. It is, these guys are going as far as their wife lets them. That's the state of politics. And so the post that he's quoting here is from, I have no idea who this is, but I'll just read through the story here. She writes, "Just talked to a good friend of mine who told me about a local school board race in his deeply conservative county. Some context, the entire school board is filled with women in their 30s and 40s, except for one man. This guy spent his entire term fighting against wokeism at every turn. The school system in this supposedly ultra-conservative county was also infested with wokeism and trans ideology. Teachers had been asking students for their pronouns and secretly encouraging kids to transition without their parents' knowledge or permission. And keep in mind, this is happening in a 70% Trump-voted county. Boys were allowed to compete in girls' sports, porn was being displayed in school libraries, and the LGBTQ and trans flags were hanging in multiple classrooms." She continues, "This guy worked against all of this, and he actually won most of the battles he fought. The trans flag were removed from the school system. The pornographic books were taken out of the library, and men were no longer allowed in women's bathrooms. But when he ran for re-election last year, local GOP lawmakers and his supposed conservative female colleagues on the school board, with just one exception, refused to support him because he was too divisive and too mean. He just lost re-election on Tuesday, and now the entire school board is going to be staffed with women." If that don't depress you, I don't know what will. There's a guy who's single-handedly, he's soloing the school board, one guy by himself, fighting trans ideologies. He's helping protect girls. And who stops him? Women. Women. And now an entire school board is going to be 100% female aligned. But that is the point there. This is what you get when you don't get involved. This is what happens when you don't speak out. This is what you get when you don't know who's who inside your local politics. You need to know these things. Sure, it might be hard to find it on Google, or your local area to really find and pick out the details. But once you do it that first time, you're going to have a handle of how to look it up. You're going to know what to do next time you need to look something up. You have to be involved. You can't let your school boards be ran by a bunch of single women who touch themselves to smut books about minotaurs, taping them up in labyrinths, and who also are like, their only empathy is for Zohran Mamdani and Islamists who, quite frankly, are then going to target those same women who got them in there in the first place. We can't continue to be held hostage by women in this country. I would like to see, and I've always been a supporter of, a real concerted effort and attempt to repeal the 19th Amendment. Now, how that's going to have to be, I explored a little bit on the Graper Report, I think last week, of just how difficult it is to do anything with an amendment. Like the supermajority is required in both the House and the Senate, the ratification process with also needing to be 38 out of 50 states. Look up the Jewish Autonomous Oblast. Even is that? Oh, is it? It's similar to the trans flag? I would imagine so. The rainbow flag. I'm just here like, when are we going to wake up? When are people going to open their eyes and go, yes, women need to be pulled out of the voting matrix? And that's the thing. Balkanized on so many lines. Balkanized on age brackets, balkanized on gender, balkanized ideology, obviously. Balkanized. I mean, how much further can these splits go? And the reality is the first group that can begin acting and operating as a monolith will be the first one that wins. The first one that can find a unified front, no matter what the disagreements are, and at least vote in terms of a monolith, they'll be the first ones that'll be able to, enact change. But it could be just too late altogether, anyways. At the end of the day, it also could be entirely just a lost cause. But women are a huge problem in this country. Women were never meant to have or hold any political influence at all. Women were not designed by God to be leaders. They were not designed by God to make decisions that leaders have to make. They were not made for that purpose. And it is a disgrace to God and all that is good the longer that we continue this inverted, affront to what is natural by insisting that women belong here. They do not. They belong in the kitchen. They belong in the home, taking care of their children. They deserve that, actually. They deserve to be in the home, taking care of their children. And they deserve men willing and able enough to correct and put them in their place and do just that. What I can tell you what we don't deserve is Nancy Mace and all this other bullshit. All this other hand-wringing, whinging, complaining, bitching and moaning. I mean, hell, the Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson turned half of the conservative base into leftists overnight. Instantly. Just disgusting. One final thing before I do go. We have, for the first edition in like a week or so, a gay of the day.
The gay of the day.
So today's gay of the day comes to us from Colin Rugg, and that is a barista, but not a regular Starbucks barista. It's the fact that idiots are arguing and fighting each other over a glass bear because consumerism is all that America has left in this country. It is all anybody will get out of bed for, is to buy the latest stupid, retarded thing that gives me dopamine for 5.5 minutes before 3 months of depression, and then they do it all over again. This is a video, I'm not going to read the caption, but this is a video of a drama relating to how people are acting with Starbucks' new release of a stupid glass bear. Here it is.
So why do I have to give away my cup once I handed you the one that the worker? Hold on, no, have to not break it.
She put my cup up and I gave you mine.
It's super quiet. 1 second.
Yeah. Oh, you did? Somebody else.
She cussed me out in the Starbucks.
No. It's saying there's only one. No.
It actually doesn't online say that.
That is so trashy. Yeah, no, that's fucked up. All right, I'm sorry.
These people are so sad. It's so pathetic.
She got like 5 of them, all the bear.
Everything.
5 of them, dude.
That's messed up.
Oh, expect more of this, right? We're coming up on when's Black Friday? It's coming up soon.
Yeah, they cleaned everything out.
It's gonna get bad. All fats too, I know.
And I'm taking a picture of the clock because I want you to see that.
But I think we've seen enough of this. The point stands here. This is not the psychotic behavior. We can't continue to ignore the fact that people are not behaving like human beings. The obvious and clear psychological warfare that's happening on people, the consumerism, the degeneracy, the mass just caring about shit that doesn't matter, the novelty of things. And it's all, for a glass bear. And it's unfortunate too, because, it's like every year you see like a Black Friday, like some person gets trampled because, they had the unfortunate reality of having to serve a shift on Black Friday. And the next thing you know, they're opening a door and then their family's looking at them at 6 feet under while they're singing, they're singing praises about their last days. It's one of those things that does make me, I've recently moved further and further and further and further and further away from late stage capitalism. Corporatism, whatever you want to call it, the system is so broken. It's basically become a vehicle of extracting wealth from regular citizens. That's all that it really has become. It's become an extraction of wealth vehicle so that we can find the easiest and most excessive and shameful ways to funnel money out of this country, either into foreign interest or into the elites. And then at the same time, they turn around and spit on you and say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. There's a lot deeper I could go into where I'm kind of at, economically, but I really don't know. I think there's also a big question mark, and as it pertains to the AI bubble. On two ends, one, you have a lot of these AI software systems that are like brand new, kind of gimmicky. A lot of people are like buying into them, setting stuff up. So we don't know how long-term some of this may be, what companies may even be here in a year, may even be here in 6 months. Then you have the AI bubble on the other end, which is the fact that a lot of companies are already doing it, Amazon and others included, but also companies even projecting out that how much of their systems and operations will be able to be robotized or be handed off to AI. And the AI bubble there is you're going to have a huge fluctuation in the labor market if you're having massive layoffs over and over and over again. Whether it's from Honda or Amazon or everything else here. And that's terrifying too, because, and like I've said previously, we just don't have a mechanic. We don't, and my fear is what it will do is we're going to be right back where we were in COVID, which is, 2.5 million people get laid off. We have an economical crisis. And what's the president doing? Stimulus package, all because we avoided the conversation of UBI until it was too late. Now, I'm not saying UBI is a solution, and I believe in that. I'm saying the conversation should have continued from when Andrew Yang first brought it up. We knew the writing was on the wall then. And maybe this is because idiots don't read history, but technology has always had an exponential multiplier. It can progress things so quickly to the point that we cannot accurately predict for it. So my fear is there will be some extreme, damages to people with the AI bubble the closer that we get to it, especially with America too, and the damage that it may do to the dollar on top of it. It would be excessive. Nothing left. Atlas confirm. What was that? Confirm what, Jason? Confirm what? I demand you send another chat and explain yourself. Don't confirm. Okay, I'm not confirming. Ellis confirmed as Yang Gang. I brought him up a lot, but I'm there with Nick. Like, this is a conversation that needs to be had. Him being basically laughed out over UBI. I mean, then obviously the implementation of it then would have been dumb and it wouldn't have been necessary. But the idea of what will America do if in 6 months there's 98 million people who are unemployed? Are we just gonna? I hope you got guns, right? Like that's what we're facing with. Like, otherwise we need to have something, at least something of some level in place to help mitigate that. So, we don't have, the immediate loss of our country in civil war then. But that is all for me today. I appreciate everybody for being here. Again, prayer requests for Donnie Brook, I know, and for him, his wife, his family. I appreciate everybody for being here. I do appreciate all of you. And with that, you will see me tomorrow on the Graper Report from 8 to 10 p.m., joined by Josh Vandernoord, and I will should be on the Sunday show, the NAV Founder Show on Sunday. That's both of those you can find on the New American Vision channel. That is NAV_creators on YouTube. And members-only content should be coming one of those weekend days. I've not decided which, but members-only content will be coming on one of those 2 days. And I did not see the recent Economist tweet. I can do that real quick. The Economist better not be trolling. Dude, no way. Look at this. Let's look at the one from AF Post. So the magazine The Economist frames pro-natalist push to boost the U.S. birth rates as part of an insidious plot to create a wider America. Dude, you can't make this shit up. Anyways, Christ is King. I hope you guys are all doing good in your journey, and seek first the kingdom of God. Something that I need to be doing a better job at. But I hope you guys are also doing well on your journeys with Christ, doing well on your journeys with being better men, repenting, cleaning yourselves up. On top of that, deport Kash Patel, fire the guy who doesn't need to be the head of the FBI anymore. I don't care where we send him, just get him out of my country. And ban Pam Bondi from public life forever, maybe even throw her in jail. And then with that, we're going to send all the fat women to prison first. And then from there, we'll start cleaning them up, but they're going to be all banned back to the kitchen forever. Never again. A good friend once told me, never again. Christ is King. I appreciate all of you guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.
Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord.